I love being part of a community, right? I love being part of the theater community in New York. Like I have friends in that. I love being part of the independent film. I love the idea of like having a family and like a work family. Like I think all that is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I didn't think about acting at all growing up. It was so far out of my wheelhouse of like what I was going to do with my life that like yeah, a part of me is always what is going on here, you know? And then my ego will kick in and be like, nope, I deserve it. And then I facilitate back and forth all the time.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
This is a very special edition of Back to One live from the Made in New York Media Center in Brooklyn, hosted by IFP with special guest Christopher Abbott. Enjoy.
Christopher Abbott is an actor. He's here to talk about the work. Will you welcome him?
Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for coming to this. I was kind of half expecting no one to come, so this is really nice.
This is good, right?
Yeah.
Is there a typical way that you begin your preparation process for a role? Like, you're alone with the script, there's no one else around. What's the first step you take typically?
Once I'm already attached to doing it,
Yes.
once I've decided to do it.
Yes.
I think it changes from. I don't have a specific process that I adhere to for every single project. It kind of changes depending on what it is. I think anything as vague as it being like somewhat of a lighter fare or something like really deep and dark or what it'll change even just kind of based on that. It'll also change based on, if it's a script that you kind of feel like it's more of a blueprint and that I'm like, okay, there's going to be probably some improvising around this or not. Or if it's one that really feels like you need to stick to it, maybe I'll treat it a little bit more like a play. Like, just as an example, like Catch-22 kind of felt like they were really extremely well-written scripts and there was a certain language to it. It kind of... And also because it was 6 episodes and it's a long thing that was going to be cross-boarded, that I treated that the most like a play, like in terms of preparing for it. Like I even just simply like tried to get off book for it, like before getting there as best as I can.
Well, for the entire thing.
Yeah, for the entire thing.
Yeah.
Just because I think I knew that there's no ad-libbing with it. It was it's very specific. So there's that. And then I think maybe the one thing that is a bit of a through line is I usually picture, kind of picture what the guy looks like, and it's usually not me, obviously in my head. I kind of have like a look, and then I'm often disappointed when I look in the mirror and I'm like, it's still my face, you know what I mean? But I don't want it to be in a way, so I have a picture of what he looks like, what he dress, and all that, and I try to kind of maybe keep that somewhere in the back, but eventually, it's eventually going to be my face and, my voice, even though maybe for some things I've like changed up a voice quality or something like that, but it's a good thing to kind of keep steady and to at least stay true to whatever the part is.
I'm curious if other actors have that same thing of picturing somebody else when they first read the script. I wonder, like, you know what I mean? Because you picture somebody else. I'm trying to remember what I do, like in my small time stuff of just having a script that I have to do. And I imagine that helps to kind of embody a characterization. Because if you're imagining yourself when you're reading it, it's like you're not jumping too far.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. And then I think also, like, for me, I'm much more vain in real life than I am when I'm like filming something or doing like I don't. And if you've seen some movies that I've done, I've looked like garbage before, like because I really don't, like I really try to separate. I don't want to be, that's like the one place I don't want to be vain.
Mm-hmm.
I save that for, anything involving any kind of social anxiety, anything like that. But that's where I don't want to be vain. So I kind of want to, it's maybe good for me mentally to separate myself as much as I can. But that still doesn't mean I don't use myself and like use, I guess, certain isms, you know what I mean, that I have that can help it along. But it's a bit of a marriage between me and some fabricated person.
Yeah. Speaking of like vanity and your face, I have never seen you overact with your face. And usually people who don't overact with their face underact with their face. And I've never seen you underact with your face. Now, there's some people that don't overact and underact that I can imagine, and they're usually not very good actors. Like they're like stars. Like they're just good at, like we just know what's going on in them, but they don't have a lot more of the craft.
Sometimes it feels like they've studied their face and they know
that's what
I
wanted
does.
to know.
Yeah.
If you have studied your face, do you know what your face is doing?
No. I do when I've watched a movie back. Obviously, I'm like, oh, that's what that was. But I wasn't conscious of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's only little things that I've been a little bit more conscious of. Like earlier on, I just know when I would watch movies back or anything back that I did, I just noticed that I like maybe blinked too much and it was distracting for me. So like those are like little physical things that I've tried to let go of. Because if I'm thinking too much, naturally I just start blinking and it kind of is distracting on screen. So I've tried to get rid of those kinds of things. But otherwise, no.
Do you actually like think, I can't blink too much in this scene because I really blink too much? I mean, that can't be helpful.
No, it's not. But I did it, and then I think by now I've tried to. It's just naturally kind of gone away. But yeah, no, I just kind of worked on it at first. Yeah. Yeah. Because I didn't like it.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about HB Studio? Like just going to. You've talked a lot about like having this naivete and this innocence about what the business was going to be that really helped you claimed, like to get through a lot of this beginning stuff. You've said like something like, if I knew what this business was all about, I wouldn't have went down this road like it was in the beginning of going to cattle call auditions and stuff like that. Just take me back to the beginning of that, and then I just want to know what your time was like at HB.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'll start. I was going to community college in Connecticut where I grew up, and I had like 3 jobs at the time, and I was going to school, and I was living at home, and I was paying for the school. It was cheap. And then the second year, I started taking an acting class there that was, wasn't particularly inspirational, but it's just where I kind of learned. I know how to do this. Quickly kind of dropped out, and there was a free audit week at HB Studio, which is down in the West Village. If no one knows, it's on Bank Street, and it's just an acting studio where you can take as many classes as you want, 5 or 1, whatever, unless you were a foreign student, and then you're on an F1 visa program, and then there's a set program. But anyway, point is, there's no degree. There's nothing. There was nothing. There's no setup. There's like a NYU or something like that. If you're an actor, I think you get a showcase at the end, and agents come or whatever. So I learned that this wasn't, by going here, that wasn't going to be the case. It's good to study and do scene work and stuff like that, but there was going to be no setup. So I knew that I was going to have to, truthfully, like grind a little bit, and so the naivete thing was just. Being a little bit naive to the business as a whole, I think helped me because, like, I would just, at that time while I was going to school and just trying to start working, like, I would just do whatever. Like, I would go to these kind of equity principle auditions, which are for theater. It's like it's union, you have to hold these auditions legally, right? But they're not really, no one ever gets cast from them, but I would just show up to them, and I wasn't even equity, so I would sign up on the the non-equity list to then hopefully get seen after all the equity members would get seen. And
yeah.
I eventually like learned how to time it out so I can like go have a day in the city and then come back around the time I think maybe I would have gotten seen.
Yeah.
So I started going like a bunch of those. And then it weirdly kind of worked out because enough casting directors from different theater companies, I guess, had seen me. And then they maybe had talked. And then they started calling me directly to, like, I understudied a play. That was, like, one of my first jobs. And then my first couple jobs were, like, off-Broadway plays that I didn't have an agent or anything like that. Yeah, and just, like, I would show up. I would just hear about auditions, and I would just show up to them, like, without, and, like, not having an agent had sent me or anything. So... like the one embarrassing, well, there was many, but the one, like I remember one where I just showed up to the audition, the elevator opened into the waiting room, so there was like 16 actors. It was like a big, there was 16 actors there, and then there was a girl sitting at a table with the sign-in sheet. So I went and like signed in, and then I was like, oh, do you have extra sides? I lost mine or whatever. Like I made up some lie, and she gave them to me, and then I went and sat down. And then she called me up, and she's like, can you come here for a second? I was like, yeah, I walked up. And she's like, who are you with? Who sent you? I was like, oh, no. I forgot what I said. I was like, yeah, no, I just, I got here. I think I said something like that. I'm here now. Like, I didn't even know. And she was confused and, like, flipping through papers. And then basically, and at this point, like, I feel 17 other actors around me. Like, obviously, they're like, everyone stops learning their lines, and they're just staring at me, because, like, what's going on? And so basically, she kicked me out. She was like, you have to have an appointment. I don't know. I was like, okay. And then the reason I told the elevator thing is because that wait for the elevator, it was, I think realistically, it was like 2.5, 3 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes, and I felt all these actors just staring at me, kind of laughing. I was sweating. I had like anxiety sweat. I was like, but anyway, I would just go for it. I'd like movies were filming on the street in West Village. I would just walk up to the set and be like, can I do something? Yeah, like I was just, but I didn't know, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I eventually learned, obviously, through other actor friends and stuff, and they're like, stop doing that. It's embarrassing. But yeah, I think that's what that was.
And do you feel like because you tell the story of like catching the bug in a little community college class, and do you feel like HB was a good choice to go to? Like you feel like your work grew there?
Yeah, I do, because there was some really good teachers there. I met some friends of mine that are still good friends and that I've worked with and all that. I would say the only downside was that because it was like a cheaper school, and it wasn't like it didn't feel like everyone there was trying to be an actor. There was a lot of people there that were like retirees that were just kind of doing it for a hobby. Like there was like hobbyists, I mean, oh my God, I remember like I would do scenes with people like. And like I was new to New York, and like I remember doing a scene with this guy. This like older guy was like retired. He had like a hedge fund, and he just decided he wanted to like start acting. And I happened to do a scene with him, and like I showed up to his apartment in the West Village, and his door is like cracked open, and I forgot his name now. Let's just say like Tom or whatever. And I opened the door, and I was like, Tom, and he's like, I'm in here, Chris. And he's like, I was like, oh, this is creepy, And like I walk into the room, and he's like sitting at the table with both the scripts there, and like his hands on the table. Like it was weird. You meet weird people, and like he didn't want to talk. He was just like, I just tried to start bantering. It's nice out, coffee or whatever. And he's just like, I'm good. Shall we read? You know what I mean? And there was another guy who lived in Westchester that he wouldn't show up to rehearse for scenes, so he would just rehearse on the phone.
Oh my God.
And then, because he didn't want to come down to the city when he didn't have to. So I rehearsed with him on the phone for hours. And then we would do the scene in class. Like weirdos. So there was some of that.
Oh my God. I have to tell a story. This is a bit of a crazy story. On Monday, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking, I want to reach out to like somebody that was in a play with you and to have them just tell me a little something. I reached out to a woman, and she didn't write back. But I swear, an hour later, I'm riding my bicycle down the street. It's 11 o'clock at night. And walking across the street is Lois Smith.
Yeah.
And I stop my bike and I get off my bike because I didn't want to like approach her still on my bike and just be weird. And I just said, Miss Smith, I was just talking about you. She was with someone and she's like, well, I was just thinking about you because I really was. It was one of the people that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And I said, I was just thinking about you because I'm interviewing Christopher Abbott on Friday, and I wanted somebody. You're shaking your head.
I'm just listening.
I wanted to talk to somebody that was in a play with him, and she said, "Well, he's good." And then she just starts walking. She keeps walking. She doesn't like. This is a very strange event. It was. I was like. It was like I was manifesting her, and she doesn't really care. She just keeps walking.
Yeah.
And I follow her, and she keeps talking though, and she says this. I appeared with him in John.
Oh, she remember. Okay.
And then she said he did not have a happy time. By this time, she's on the other side of the road. Like she's 80 years old. I'm having a hard time catching up to her. What I did then, because I'm crazy, I went to the library to watch John.
Oh wow!
You can see it at the library. Isn't New York amazing? And it was a wonderful afternoon watching this Annie Baker play. I think she's brilliant.
She is.
Okay, but tell me what you think she could have meant, and then I'm going to tell you something else. Go ahead.
Sure. And the reason I was just shaking my head before, because I was worried that maybe she wouldn't remember, because bless her, I mean, she's doing, but like, I've like run into her, so I'm like, hi Lois, and she's like, like just kind of, so I wasn't sure about that, but that's great to hear. That was, I think Annie Baker's a genius, and I think for me at the time, I mean, truthfully, it felt like it almost felt like it was a play I would have watched 50 times rather than be in for an extended period. And I did the whole run and extended a bit, but then I was the one that was kind of like, all right, I'm done doing the show, and I think people were a little bit upset with me. But truth is, it's just like there's nothing more valuable to me than time, and like it's in like I'll never. I kind of felt bad, but like I was just done with it on the inside. I didn't want to extend and do it anymore, and I don't know what it was. I mean, there was just something wasn't quite sitting right with me in it, and it's not that I didn't like doing it. I did, but I don't know. It was just like one of those gut feeling things at the time. I'm not avoiding the question. There wasn't a specific reason.
There's an interview you did where you talked about this very strange way Sam Gold directed you in that play, which was what you call almost in code.
Mm-hmm.
You said that there was like he and Annie Baker would be talking, like whispering when you guys were rehearsing, and it was annoying. And then he would give you direction that you had to decode.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think Sam and her obviously have like a really healthy rapport with each other. I think he's directed most, not all, but most of her work. So obviously there's just a kinship there, and in a rehearsal room while doing a play, I like it to feel like we're all in this together and let's work. And then I just think at times it just kind of felt like we were up there rehearsing, and then there was just kind of like a lot of this happening, and it's. I'm aware, and I can see it out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, what? Like I'll just be like, what? Just tell me. I'm not particularly sensitive. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like I am, but like, I'm like, let's just talk. Like, I'm fine with it. Like, if that was bad, just tell me, and like, let's work it out. That's what rehearsals are for. I think there was a little bit of that, and then the code thing. I think it just had to do with that. Of like, I think just give it to me straight rather than.
Well, this brings up the question, like, what kind of direction works for you? It seems like somebody's trying to go through the back door and get you to do something, which is the way you were kind of describing it is like he would say something that would make things change, and then that would be what he wanted instead of just being direct.
Yeah.
But just tell me what kind of direction works best for you.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't. Well, I guess obviously what I don't like is manipulation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think I'm smart enough, and I think people, you know, often. I think it's easy to make actors feel stupid, you know what I mean? And I get it, you know, because, you know, sometimes you're like, you're just up there and like say these lines, stand there and do it, you know what I mean? Ultimately, sometimes that's all it is. But yeah, I like to avoid that if possible. And I'm just sensitive to the process of it. And when we're doing, if it's a play, that's what the rehearsals are for. We're in this together. Let's figure it out before we put it up on stage or whatever. And if we're doing a film, it's like, okay, well, we have multiple takes to work on it. Let's talk about it, figure it out. What do you need exactly? You know? Yeah. And I'm good about that. Like I'm adaptable. Like even if a director's like, hey, can you just just a little less? I was like, yeah, fine, get it. You know, like I get it. You know, or like if for an example, like even on Catch-22, I remember Grant Hesloff. It was just a shot of me looking up at a balcony at another actor, and someone had just gotten killed, and it was a shot of me just looking up like that, and that's all it was, and he's like there's something, just it doesn't look like anger, you look just kind of, it looks like wonderment. And I was like, what do you mean? That's all I'm doing is just looking up at the thing. What do you mean? And he's like, come here, let me show you. And he showed me the thing. And all it was just like my mouth was a little open. Because just naturally when you turn your head, my mouth would hang open. And I'm like, oh, right, that looks dumb. Yeah. So just close your mouth when you look up. You know what I mean? And like, it doesn't need to be magical. It doesn't need to be whatever, but let's just figure it out. Let's just, figure it out together, work on it. We can just kind of be blunt about things, and I'm good with that.
Right. That works for you. Like just being, I mean, like that's almost like showing you what's going on the screen is almost like, maybe for another actor that would like throw everything totally off, and they'd be worried about that. But it's like,
I don't particularly watch playback, but all the time. Yeah. Sometimes I do, but if I need to. But yeah.
If you need to get into heaven, like from one scene, like if you if there was if at the pearly gates they're like, well, give us one scene that you did that
anoint
you into heaven. I would say, I'm not going to ask you. I don't care really what you think about it, but
that's fair.
I think the scene, the "Would you help me dispose of a dead body" scene in James White. Mm-hmm. This is such a virtuoso performance for me, man. I mean, like, this is, when people say like that, 70s movies, they're harking back to a time when people acted like in adult movies, and it was like, this still going on. Like, this is an example of that. I'm so blown away by your performance in this movie, but this scene really hits me, and I almost cry every time I see it, and I might cry now. We're gonna see it. Let's just watch a little bit of this scene.
You're acting crazy, man. Yo, listen. Hey, just relax.
You're walking fast, man. You're walking too fast, man. You're walking too fast, man.
Chill out, man. Chill out, man.
Don't come at me like that, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't fucking come at me like that, man.
I'm right here. I'm right here. You need to relax. You're scaring us. You're scaring Jane. You need to relax.
Listen, she may die any day. She is scared to death.
Hey, it's me. Hey, come on.
Get off.
No, I'm here, man. Come on, just relax. I need you to relax, man.
Yo.
Are you okay? You see? You need to relax. No, you see what I'm saying? You're scaring me, yo. You're scaring me, bro.
If you want to fucking do it, you want to get... Yo. Tell me. Yo. Would you, listen to me, would you dispose of the dead body for me? Would you dispose of a dead body?
I would. Would you? Would you for me?
Dude, no question. No question. Would you for me? Would you?
Hey, go answer that. Get that.
No question. No question.
You need to fight me.
Dude, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? No one tells me anything. She doesn't tell me anything. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do?
I want to approach this like right off the bat, nuts and bolts. You have to be drunk there. You have to act drunk. Like everybody knows the one thing to do when you have to act drunk is don't get drunk.
Yeah.
Step one. But I rarely see drunk like that. Is that just one of the aspects like that you place on the performance at a certain point? You know, like that's what they kind of do at the actor studio. Like sometimes they'll I'm just working on drunk today. You know, like, and it's almost like everything else is already set, and then they place that in. I don't know if you do, but was that a worry, that aspect of it? But then there's so much emotional stuff going on that has to be on top of that. Just unpack that a little bit, if you could, for what was going on in your mind and how you approached it.
Yeah, leading up to, I guess, scenes that are like that, they're always a party. It's kind of exciting, but it's also you're always worried about it. Like when it's on the call sheet for that day, you're like, all right, you got to do it. You know, like just get through it and do it. I don't know. I mean, I think there's like a little bit of sense memory type things involved. Like I know enough of what I like, at least from like my darker side when I've been a little bit more fucked up, like how I am. Like, and I think even as an actor, in real life, when I have been, I'm just there's something kind of clocking it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like almost like an exercise. Like, you know, whatever. Like be drunk and then I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna remember this from that scene. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Yeah. But also with this specific movie, you know, Josh, my friend who directed it and wrote it, you know, we had been friends already for a long time, and you know, at that point we had spent a lot of time together. So it's a little bit of me. Again, it's like a little bit of me. You know, I don't feel like I'm saying anything bad, but it's a little bit of him too. You know, and I've been with him in those situations, and you know, I don't know. I think actors are just always have a certain acute awareness for human behavior, and like you know, you're always watching, and whether it's yourself or other people. Yeah. And I mean, truthfully, I do that. Like I just clock things. I'm hyper aware of human, like weird social situations. Like, and I'm not saying this is like a superpower of mine or anything like that, but like whenever, like if I'm in a group of people and like they're talking and then someone is acting weird with this person and like I'm like noticing they're looking at them and just like shut up, or, you know, doing something. I'm like, oh, what's going on there? And my attention just I'm drawn to like conflict and things like that. So I don't know. I think it's just kind of always being aware of myself in real life situations and trying to grab it and hold on to it, and then be able to use it, and then other people.
Mm-hmm. You talked about a really interesting aspect of this film that I usually don't talk to actors about, which is like the relationship you had with this cinematographer, and how it was that this film is really shot in this way that it's almost like it's on you so close all the time. You know, and actors I've talked to have to always, they've mentioned how they have to take in the camera. Like there's a wonderful actor named Lorraine Toussaint who talks about how she has this process of removing the camera right before action, like removing it from her, like she removes it, like
sight, like field of vision or something.
Yeah. And you were talking about how in this movie, the camera was so close that it was actually better for you. It almost crossed the boundary of being Like, you know, when something is too close, it's a little bit further away.
Obstructive, it wasn't. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, I'll start with that, you know, and this kind of goes back to something that we were talking about before, but just type of actor is, you know, what I've learned too, I think a lot of actors can be like, oh, I don't care about the camera, just do the scene, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, and I have enough director friends too that I'm like, you need it, you know what I mean? And you need to use it. So like you feeling whatever you're feeling in the moment, but if the camera can't see it, then it's useless. At least when making a film or whatever. So I learned that pretty early on. So like almost treating the camera like a friend, you know, if you could. With this specific movie, our DP Matthias Erdely, who I love and I love working with so much, it went beyond. It almost felt like performance art at a certain point. In the beginning of the film, it's edited quite a bit, but it starts, you know, whoever hasn't, but it starts off in a club. There's dancing, talking to people. There's like a hookup scene in a bathroom. You walk out, and then more things happen, drinks, and then you walk out into the street, and it's daylight, and you realize, okay, it's like daytime. Get it, and he gets in a cab and goes home. We shot it as one shot, which was maybe like 12 minutes or something like that. It's edited in the film, but it was originally going to be just one shot. And so me and Matthias and the camera's here the whole time for that. You know, me and Matthias were doing a dance the whole time. And like, so I was like, okay, in character, knew the scene, knew what was going on. But under the camera, I'm like holding on to his shirt for most of that. Like especially when we're walking around, I'm like holding on to his shirt, and like he never wanted to jump any of my moves. He always wanted to be with me. So if I was gonna like move a little bit left, I was kind of giving him direction under the camera with my hands, or like he would be holding my shirt for something, you know, like when we're going through the door. And I loved it. Like I thought, like it, and I would think maybe as the actor part of my brain, it would be very distracting. Yeah. But I kind of dug it. Felt like, again, like a performance art kind of bit. But you know, Matthias was just really good with that. And I don't know if you know, but Matthias also shot. All of his work is very different. He's a very adaptable cinematographer. Like he adapts to the script and the director. But there is a similarity, I think, to this, and he also shot Son of Saul.
Yeah, which is incredible handheld long shots. Probably the most incredible handheld long shots I've ever seen.
And that's him.
Yeah.
I mean, he does it all. Like the camera's just on his shoulder. It's not steady camera or anything. He's kind of amazing. But that's kind of shot because it's so much about that character. It's like kind of here too. There's kind of similarities with those.
Yes,
two.
That's right.
Yeah,
it was all that movie. Both movies are seen kind of through that. They're trying to be as subjective as possible through the character. I have to say, so I don't know about you guys, but I don't know how I feel about George Clooney. Like I don't. He's like the king of Hollywood, and he seems like a nice guy. I don't know him, but a place in my heart got really warm and spread when I heard that when you showed up to the audition for Catch-22, he was wearing a leather helmet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the movie Leatherheads that he did.
I think I almost cried when I heard this. I really, because it made me think like that's all an actor kind of needs. This is the part where I'm yelling. Mm-hmm. All an actor kind of needs, tell me if I'm wrong, is like the breaking of the ice in that moment in the audition.
Yeah.
And he knew enough to do that. You know, I mean, because he's an actor. I mean,
he gets it,
but so many people don't know to do that. And it just seems like it was just such a nice thing to hear. But tell me about preparing. You could talk about that, but tell me about preparing for that audition. You knew what this was. This was going to be a big deal, and you wanted it.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this also first because I think because he's an actor, he gets it. You know, and he's said this before, so I'm just stealing from him. But you know. He says, like, you know, a lot of actors kind of go into auditions what does he say? He's like, you can't lose a part that you don't have. right? So you're going to, you don't have the part when you walk in, so you're not going to lose it, you know.
Yeah.
It just, and also the idea that the people waiting for you, the director or whatever, they're hoping that the next person that walks in the room is going to solve their problem.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be the person, you know, for it. So that's kind of an, you know, good way to look at auditioning. But yeah, for that one, you know, it was just one of those things where the scripts were so good, it was so juicy of a part that I didn't want to have regrets when I walked out, and I had enough time to prepare. I mean, went the extra mile just in terms of like, they were like pick a scene or two to do, and there was like 5 to pick from, and I was just like, just in case he's maybe seen too much of one, like just learn them all. You know what I mean? Which is not that big of a deal. Just
scenes, yeah.
But you know, just it's little. It's very studious and academic, but just learn. You know, just in case.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wanted to go in, just with as many weapons as I could. Yeah, and then walked in. He broke the ice a little bit, which made me kind of feel good, and yeah, then I just auditioned, did the first couple scenes like once or twice, and that was it. But you know, and you also want to, you know, I think as a director, if you're casting people or whatever, vice versa, you're also going to be spending months with this individual. So you also want to make sure that time spent is, you know, you hire the best person, obviously, but sometimes it's just as important to hire someone that you want to be with for 4 months. Right. You know what I mean, or what have you. So I don't know if that leather hat thing was like a little bit of a test for that, but you know, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He says that at the second line he knew you were the guy. The second line you said, you know. So it makes me think like, you know, maybe he was studying you and he knew that you were already good for this.
But I think that's not because years ago I had a casting director friend and I asked him if I can be a reader for something that he was casting for, just because I wanted to experience it and see what it was like, and just be on the other side of the table a little bit, just to feel it. And I kind of noticed from that, you do kind of know right away if someone is right for it or not. Yeah. Like, sometimes it's before they even read anything. Sometimes it's like when they walk in the room, there's just a certain vibe, you know what I mean? That you can't really fake, you know? It's not like if you, as an actor, if you walk into a room like uber confident that they're gonna be like, all right, they're gonna see what they want right now, you know? It's not that, but it's just, there's, you know, right away.
There was 3 directors on Catch-22, and it seemed, and you had to jump around chronologically, filming a bunch of different episodes on the same day sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that you were literally working maybe with 3 different directors on the same day?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you obviously, I'm not going to ask you who was your favorite director, but you have a favorite director of those 3. And so what was that like to have to keep shifting? Did that do something, or does it even matter, like who the director is? Were they all in sync like that?
Yeah, I mean, at least, you know, the thing is all of them were there all the time. So even, you know, there was always like 3 chairs for them at the monitor, you know, and yeah, because I would shoot anything from any episode with any director on any given day, and I at least knew that going into it. So I was able to like prep myself for that kind of, but yeah, it was, and again, I'm not an actor that complains about acting work a lot, but it was hard. It was like, it was actually, I had a beautiful, fun time doing it, but it truly actually was difficult. Like, and it was straining to do, just because it was a lot. It was just a lot to do.
And there's so many, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's so much emotional stuff that you have to do on the planes, on the plane, like, which is basically just in a set with green screen.
It's weird. It's definitely weird. I hadn't done much of that kind of stuff prior to this. Yeah. Like most of the stuff I've done has been indies, like, you know, in living rooms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah, it is weird. It's a little fakey for sure. You kind of have to fake it a little bit, but like, I don't know, you try to draw inspiration. Like, look, I think Tom Cruise, right? He makes me think of this. It's like, I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, let's say pick any movie where there's like rockets coming at him, like, and he's on a bridge or whatever.
Yeah.
And he fucking does like the camera's here, and he does like this thing, you know, to like look at the rockets.
Yeah.
And whatever, and he just looks at him intensely and then starts like booking it. Like, clearly it's a green screen, you know, and you see that and you have to admire it. Like, the commitment to like to track that there's rockets coming, and then look at them angrily or whatever, and then fucking like, it's amazing. I'm not even making fun. I'm truly admirable.
But that might go back to the whole thing of like he knows what his face does. It just does that. You know, he doesn't have to work too hard.
I don't know, not to get into like a whole Tom Cruise thing on this podcast, but like, I mean, for, you know, aside from whatever crazy shit, like, I think he's done some amazing things.
Oh,
Not even
yes.
green screen, like action
No,
stuff,
he's a
like
great
Rain
actor.
Man
Yes.
and like
Born on the 4th of
Magnolia
July.
and yeah.
Okay, Tom Cruise is good.
He's good.
He's good. He's a good actor. We're about to see if we have any questions from the audience, I think. But, I mean, and then I have a final question after that. While they're doing that, let me ask you the final thing about Catch-22. Like, all of these other cast members in this thing, it's like a bunch of dudes. You probably became friends with them on the set, right?
Yeah.
You're in Italy. Is it just distracting when it's like a party type atmosphere around? Like, do you need? Would you have rather it have not been your friends? Like, these people have become your friends. You know, I'm not asking this right, but you know what I mean. Like,
No, I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean.
you know-
I had deep FOMO because I would be working so much.
Yeah.
And like they would, like, a lot of the guys were there,
Oh,
like
yeah.
were there the whole. Maybe this isn't what you're asking.
Yes.
But like a lot of the guys were there the whole time,
Yes.
but would work like a day or two a week, and like they would be like driving around Sardinia and like, you know, going on a boat, and I was just angry because I wanted to do that, you know, and like my girlfriend would come visit and like be hanging out with them on boats the whole time, and I would be like stuck at work. Not stuck at work. It was a great experience, but like, you know, I was like, yeah, is that what you were asking?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. But I mean, like, basically what I want to know is, what kind of atmosphere do you need on a set when you're working? Like even between shots, do you need quiet? Do you need people liking each other and it being like a party?
Yeah, a little bit. I like it because, and I think this has to do with my own anxiety about death. I'll get somewhere, I promise. Is like a part of my brain, and this is somewhat morbid, but a part of my brain goes like, what if I die before this thing even comes out? Like, I want to enjoy this so much, like this moment, like this time being spent. Like, again, time is the most valuable thing to me. So, and to everyone, like, big deal. But you know, I think there's I think it's kind of a healthy thing. But yeah, I like time spent, and the process of doing the thing. As much of a cinephile as I am, it's more important. It's a little bit more important to me than the result, than the product, the end product. Especially when I have nothing to do with what the end product is going to be anyway.
Right.
So it's the time spent. But on set, like, yeah, quiet. Don't talk while I'm doing a scene.
No. But I mean, even between scenes, like if actors are chummy with you, does it break your concentration? Like, do you need to stay in character? Do you need to stay?
No, not yet. I think it depends I haven't yet. I think if you're doing if you're like doing Lincoln or something like that, like some Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, where I kind of get it. That's, you know.
And do you imagine yourself growing into a Daniel Day-Lewis type need? Is that what you said? Yet?
Yet, as in the part, you know, I don't think
You
I've
haven't come
played a
up with-
part yet where I need to be so whether it's an accent thing or whatever, like I need to concentrate so much.
Yeah.
Also because I like looseness I think
That's
it's
what I wanna know,
I think
yeah.
when filming it's good. I think it's always good to be loose and to be as present as possible. I don't want to be in my own head. I think that's the worst place to be. And because I appreciate generous actors so much, I try my damnedest to be a generous actor. I want to make sure that the other actor knows I am here in the room with them. I'm doing the scene with you. I'm here with you. I'm not, again, back to the vanity thing. I'm not worried about how I'm looking. I want to be here with you. And I do that because I want that in return. And I get very angry and annoyed when that's not the case, you know. And that has happened before, and it makes me very upset. Just because I'm like, what are you doing this for? Like, for you, your little vanity project in my head, but I'm yet trying to like do this scene with them. Yeah.
Do we have questions? Let me see what we got here. If there is source or background material, how familiar with it do you like to get? Did you read Catch-22?
Yeah, I think that's if you have it, it's a kind of a gift, for sure. I of course read Catch-22. I didn't read it in high school when I was supposed to because I was high, but which I'm happy about because I read it with a certain energy and a certain intention now because I knew I was doing it. So I read it twice before I eventually went to go film it. And yeah, like, you know, it's a kind of a plethora of knowledge and tone of what the world is in the story. But I will say at the same time, it's like it's one of those things where you kind of have to take it in and then forget it, you know, because eventually I'm not doing the book. I'm doing these scripts, this adaptation that's based on the book. And it truly is an adaptation. I don't think Catch-22 as written is adaptable to screen, you know, chapter to chapter, page by, you know. And I think even some, you know, I read reviews, and I think some people had some issues with that aspect. But to argue it, it's truly an adaptation. You know what I mean? It's not. We didn't do the book as is. But yes, I think it's a great thing to have.
And I think you've answered this in other interviews, but was there a pressure to fit into this literary character? You know, pressure of people that people have on it. Like, did you feel beholden to try and find out what other people might think this character is? Like they've read it and stuff like that.
Yeah, in a weird way, it's different because, and yeah, I've talked about this in interviews before, so I'm repeating myself a little bit, but. It's different, let's say, like when you're doing like a play that's been done before and you're playing a part that maybe you've seen another actor play where you have a visual, you know, there's like you're going from that and you're like, all right, I got to do better than that, or try to, or do something different rather. This is different because, although there was a movie of this, but this is a little bit different because it's like a literary icon, let's say, that like for people, you know, it's a beloved character.
Yes.
If people love the book, that it's hard to I thought that it was hard to compete with people's imagination.
Yeah.
You know, because when you read a book, you have an endless budget in your head and you cast it perfectly in your head, and so you feel like you know them and you feel like you have that image of that person. So it's hard to match because as a reader, you're gonna want exactly what you read, what you imagined years ago whenever you read it. So I was worried about that, but then quickly I was like, there's nothing I can do about that. So I have to let that go. It's an added pressure that I didn't need to throw on top of everything else.
What do you do when you get stuck, in trouble creatively, working on a role?
It's never happened.
Like, do you have a tool that you use to get unstuck? Like actors have that, or a relaxation thing to get you out of your, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a specific thing that I do. Like Is it general? Is it like if a scene is not working, or do you mean like as a whole for the whole character, or like if?
I think it could be that
I'm trying to simplify it.
You're not trying. You're not able to connect to the material.
Yeah.
You know, but it could be that.
I don't know. I'll say this, that like, I'll say that if something feels like it's not working, like I will try and try and try. Right, if it's not working, like try, let's say, as written, as you know, like give it a good old college try, and then I think if it's not working after that, then change it. Like something needs to change. Obviously, there's something not clicking. Like maybe it isn't my fault. Like there's something in the writing, or there's something physically in the scene that's not doesn't feel right, or yeah,
Which is harder to do in a play.
yeah.
What do you do with the impulse to please, to project what others want from your performance?
That's a good one. Yeah, I think as many things do that come naturally as you get older, you start to worry less and less about it. When I was younger, I wanted everyone to love me, and actors are often very sensitive and you know, I think it can hurt you too much, you know. I think it can inhibit you in a way that is not good for whether the performance or just your time spent while doing that specific project. And you can't, I mean, just like in life, like you have to learn that you can't please everyone, and not everyone's going to like you. Yeah. And that's just life. So I think the quicker you accept that, the easier it is to kind of let that go.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But that's also like a life question. That's not even just
That's right.
You know,
It goes for everything.
yeah.
I'm just going to add to this. Are there actors you look to often for inspiration? On top of that question, I heard that you don't watch a lot of TV or movies. I mean, maybe movies, but like I heard you say, I don't know if you were joking, that you don't, like you said, name a classic show.
TV shows.
I have never seen it. You've never seen The Sopranos. You've never seen The Wire. You've never seen Breaking Bad. You've never seen, you know. And I thought it was so fascinating.
It's not like an actor pretentious thing at all. I swear to God.
Well, this is what I want to know. Like when I heard that, and then, because there's a fan of the show. It's a friend of mine who listens to the show, and her whole thing is, she's an actor, and when she's not acting, like if I say, "What are you doing?" I'm working. I'm watching Netflix. What do you mean working? It's part of the job to see other people's work. What do you have to say to that?
I watch a lot of movies. I do. And I truly love going to the movies. I love, like, New York is one of the best places to do that. I've come to screenings here before. Mm-hmm. Like the last time I was here was for that film Border that was screened here. I forgot when that was. Mm-hmm. It's just with TV. It's just a logistical thing. I don't watch it during the day because I'm usually just out and about doing stuff. And then at night, I think also because anxiety, before bed, I just can't watch anything that's too intense. I need to seriously, I just watch either the British or the American Office to fall asleep to. Like something, I need or like the Great British Baking Show. I swear, I'm not that's what I watch before bed.
You've made news here.
Yeah, and it's just because of anxiety and stuff. I can't get into, I'm not going to watch The Wire. I want to see The Wire so bad. I know it's good. All these shows, I know they're good. I just don't know when to watch it. I need to have the flu or something, which I don't want.
Yeah. Are there actors you look to for inspiration?
Yeah, well, we talked a bit about this before, but there's a lot. There's a lot of actors I love, so I can't go through a whole list. But
I do want you to. I think I know what
you're
going to say.
There was a moment of watching, when I was in high school and I saw A Woman Under the Influence. That was kind of a very transitional moment for me, in terms of watching acting, because not obviously Gina Rollins is amazing in that movie, and that was very inspirational. But Peter Falk in that movie for me was I don't know. It's something clicked. Like he reminded me of like a relative in a way. He did things that he did things in that movie that I'm like, I've never seen that before on film. And B, I didn't know. It's like one of those things that strikes a chord. You're like, I didn't know somebody knew that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm getting with that? So I'll say, I mean, Gina Rollins and Peter Falk in the same breath, but specifically Peter Falk to that question.
You were talking somewhere about being at the Independent Spirit Awards and feeling like you needed to ask yourself, am I really supposed to be here? And you kept saying that you kept thinking they were going to come over and take away your membership to, I guess what you meant was like the acting membership or whatever. And then you said something really interesting. You said, I like to keep a certain thing in me that feels that. And it made it sound like you need for your work to feel like this could all be taken away in a second, or I'm an imposter, this whole imposter syndrome thing. But it's actually, you made it sound like it works to your benefit as an actor sometimes. That's the first part. This is a 7-part question. So hold that. Then somewhere else you said, someone asked you, what are you going to do next? You said, I want to do something punk. And I knew immediately what that meant. But you had to, I think it's in print, and you rephrased it, and you specified it, because you didn't want someone to think that you meant like a punk thing or something.
No, yeah.
You meant like having the feeling of punk, which I know what you mean. But when something like this happened, this is the king of Hollywood. Like, people have talked so much about this cover. Like, there's interviews where like George is, you could see him there. He looks like, this is my son. I'm passing the mantle. I'm the king of Hollywood, and he's he keeps saying, you're the next star. There's so many interviews, you can look it up. So to wrap this all up, like hearing you say that and hearing him say that, I'm thinking, what is Christopher Abbott going to do now? How is he going to do the punk thing if he's the prince of Hollywood? If the king of Hollywood, I mean, does this make any sense to you? And can you tell me what you're going to do?
I mean, look, I don't know. I think I have a healthy perspective on life in this business. Like a pretty, I've grinded enough to like be disappointed enough times that I will never put my eggs in any basket for any situation. All that kind of stuff. Like, of course, it's gorgeous and nice that I take it to heart. That's beautiful. That's a really nice thing to say and do. Given that, and granted, like Catch-22 is like one of the biggest things I've done in terms of what people would see. But I'm not taking anything away from George by saying this, but I've been in that situation before, and whether it's for something as small as like an off-Broadway play, where people have said to me like, Chris, when people see you in this, like, get ready, like it's about to explode, and then it didn't. Yeah. And then you do like an independent, like James White, for example, which, in many ways was great career-wise, I guess was really great for me, and I appreciate it. But it wasn't like all of a sudden I jumped into some other echelon of whatever. Like it just kind of kept moving, kept kind of moving on. So in a healthy way, I think I've been disappointed enough, and I shouldn't even say disappointed, because that's not even that's by no means is the feeling that I felt in that. I'm trying to answer both parts of your question. And the same, because I think now that I can jump to like the thing because of James White, the thing at like the Spirit Awards,
yes,
where it was like my first time kind of being at like an award show, and like I was getting like a little bit drunk at it, and like I remember on the screen at the thing, like at the Oscars and shit, they show like the actors' faces, like looking at the screen. Like I was like a little bit drunk, and I saw my own face go up there, sitting in the seat that I was, like next to, I don't know what, like Ben Mendelsohn was nominated for something then. It was like, and I was just like, I looked at that and I was like, oh my God, this is, yeah, I just felt, this is like a dream. Not like a dream. Like, it's like, this feels like a weird dream, like more, not quite a nightmare, just one of those weird, like morning, like you just woke up and you're having a dream of something that's happening in your room. I love being part of a community, right? I love being part of the theater community in New York. Like I have friends in that. I love being part of the independent film. I love the idea of like having a family and, like a work family. Like I think all that is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. In terms of like feeling like an imposter, I think it's just at things like that sometimes where I maybe growing up, because I've seen the Oscars and I've seen this, like it's just hard. I didn't think about acting at all growing up. It was so far out of my wheelhouse of like what I was going to do with my life that like, yeah, a part of me is always like, what is going on here, And then my ego will kick in and be like, nope, I deserve it. And then, I facilitate back and forth all the time.
I just want to know, because look, I've looked into your work here. I think you're an amazing actor. You've made choices along your path that are for the work. Like you can tell that you're making those choices. And I want you to just end this by reassuring us that you're going to continue to be making decisions for the work and for the craft. I don't know why you wouldn't, but
yeah, no problem. No problem. I got you. No, I mean I'm too far gone at this point.
Right.
Not too far gone, but I'm too settled.
Doesn't this happen to people though? Like something happens and then they just become a part in the machine, and they.
Yeah. It also depends what you're talking about. Because I'll never say like, well, I'm never gonna do like a studio film. Like that's ridiculous. No. Like that's sometimes they're good. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just, and I would never be opposed to. I'm not that guy.
Right.
But I would just always, yes, of course, I will always try to pick the right thing, and do the right part. But I've struck out. I mean, I don't have a clean record. You know that already. I've struck out on a couple things are very questionable that I've done. That's a terrible thing to end on.
No, that's a terrible. End on that.
What a terrible sentence to end on. And that's Christopher Abbott. Half the things I've done are questionable.
I'm legitimately excited about your career. So let's end on that. Are you guys excited about his career?
Thank you.
I have to say this because I always end the podcast in this way.
Yeah.
Christopher Abbott, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed this, and thank you guys for coming. It really meant
a lot.
Thank
you for coming, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Very special thanks to my assistant producer, Mia Murray, and chief sound engineer, Christian Gonzalez. Big, huge thanks to Bill Curran, Thomas Rottenberg, Brianna Carney, Colin Whitlow, Chase Harrison, and everyone at IFP for making this happen.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.